Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best of 3 series where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Lightshade. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner and playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have none other than MaNa. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Bly. Now, if you've been watching my YouTube channel for a while, you know that I'm a bit of a fanboy of Bly. He's one of my favorite Zerg players to watch because the man loves to play StarCraft 2 his own way. And while this looked for a little bit like it was going to be a regular expansion drone, it's not going to be. Apparently, he knows the timing at which he needs to send out that drone, so it goes unscouted against an extremely early Protoss probe. This probe moved out before even a pylon got planted down, so this is basically just a probe that's meant to block the Zerg's natural. But I've got a feeling, since there's still no structure going down here for Zerg, that Bly plans on building a structure on the other side of the map instead. He's very fond of doing this, and this is so uncommon. Is he gonna build a... I think he's gonna build a hatch. Yep, there it is. Raynor, Serral, Rogue, Dark, like all those top-level Zerg players, they never do this kind of thing. But Bly consistently has been pulling off these build orders against extremely highly ranked Protoss players in the world for years now. Right? Maybe the Statses and the Traps of the world aren't really too bothered by this sort of thing, the highest ranked Protoss players, but he's been winning against the best players, or, well, at least some of the highest ranked Protoss players, doing this kind of cheekiness for a very, very long time. And I really enjoy watching it, man. I think the reason why this sort of thing works quite well is probably because of the fact that, like, Protoss player, or Protoss in general, unlike Terran and Zerg, is extremely build order dependent. For example, if you forget building your pylon even for a little bit, it's just gonna delay your timing attacks, right? And usually Protoss is very timing attack dependent. Oh my god, even cancels the hatchery there and builds an Evo chamber to delay the expansion even longer. Gets the drone out as well, which is just extremely annoying. Anyways, generally speaking, Protoss players don't really want to be delayed at all. So you can see right now there's still no Nexus. He's forced to go for double Zealot, already queued up that Adept as well. Second gas is later than you normally would want it, so any tech follow-up here for the Protoss player is going to be delayed. At this point, normally we see a Stargate going down or a Twilight Council or something along those lines. But MaNa is just capable of, well, not affording any of it, right? He's just thrown off of his strategy here, at the very least, a little bit. Now, even though this is certainly not a bad situation for the Protoss at all, I mean, Zerg obviously had to cancel that hatchery, and now he's going to have that tech advantage. I do think it's probably Bly who feels more confident in these kind of scenarios because he plays these sort of games all day, every day. That drone probably would have stolen the gas as well, by the way, if it could. If he would have stolen the gas, that would have been an absolute disaster for the Protoss. And it's very easy to just slip up, right? Anyways. Now, at this point, obviously, there's an Adept, and link speed is nowhere to be seen, so this Adept can definitely wreak havoc. I love the fact, actually, that the Scouting Probe has been added to this unit composition as well. 2 Zealots, a Probe, and an Adept. I love it. The Probe can obviously soak a little bit of damage, but it can also Mineral Walk and scout the high grounds relatively easily. And even though I think it will go down here, that still was a little bit annoying. Apparently, a Zergling ran across the map as well to continue that harassment for a little while longer. It is going to be a Stargate follow-up. Another Adept here will be coming out as well, so that's 2 Adept at this point in total. Alrighty. Now, apparently though, MaNa does know the timing at which link speed finishes up with these sort of builds because he is now returning back home, at the very least with the 2 Zealots. A lot more Zerglings though were produced as well, and link speed is about 10 seconds away from finishing. This is actually going to be a little bit of a problem right now for MaNa. I mean, MaNa is autopiloting at this point into a Void Ray, which is the most common follow-up, but his 2 Adepts are now across the map. They're going to be able to pick up a couple of drone kills at the very least, but can he actually hold on to his expansion over here as well? Because if these Zerglings streak in, that's going to be a massive problem. The Adepts, in the meantime, will get cleaned up, it looks like, by at least a couple of reinforcing Zerglings. Maybe this one will be able to escape. Void Ray is going to come out, and unlike an Oracle, this is not going to help him out too much, right? What is an Oracle, or what's a Void Ray going to do? It's going to kill these Zerglings eventually, but it takes a very long time. MaNa right now, forced to start up another wall over here. Can he? No, he cannot afford that pylon. And now the Lings are in. Is this going to deal a tremendous amount of damage? Ooh, it could. I don't think it's going to, but it's just annoying, right? At this point, the economies are pretty much even, but Bly is droning behind it. So this is going to allow him a nice little advantage. So already, there was going to be a follow-up planned here as well for MaNa. I think he wanted to go Void Race into like an Adept push or something along those lines. Is there another hole in that wall? Well, luckily there, that one shield battery, extremely helpful. I think he wanted to go for an Adept push as a follow-up, but by being this aggressive, Bly also accidentally scouts that structure, right? He could go Dark Shrine, I guess, but I feel like Bly is going to know everything. And this is what I mean. He just creates a lot of chaos, which, yeah, seems to favor Zerg players quite a bit. It makes me wonder why we don't see this from, like, the tippity top, right? The upper echelons of Zerg. Now, I guess at some point, MaNa's going to be able to make use of these pylons, but for now, he's at 44 out of 78 supply. There's the Glaive upgrade, or the Glaive upgrade, rather, so that's going to, you know, increase the attack speed of the Adepts, which is nice. But like I said, Protoss, while very timing attack oriented most of the time, is he really going to go for an Adept timing attack at this point? I highly doubt it, right? This is going to be minutes later that we would normally see it. Anyways, the two Void Rays have made their way across the map. The Queens are ready, though, and in position. And Bly is happily droning. This looks so sick. So as you probably know if you've been watching my live stream or if you've watched any of my Zerg vs Protoss games recently, because I think I mentioned this in every single one of them, I've been struggling as a Zerg player quite a bit against Protoss recently. It seems that if the games go the distance, I just lose right away, but Bly is showing us over here that it really doesn't need to. Did a couple Zerglings once again sneak in? I guess so. Since these Adepts want to go across the map. I mean, MaNa is desperately trying to get some sort of damage done. There's a couple roaches spawning here, but this is actually nice. Okay, this is good. This can definitely get some work done. Yep. I mean, these Zerglings, though, should have never been let in, right? That's just ridiculous. So Adepts are going to shade right now into the main base, and I think this is going to be the counter-attack damage that MaNa has been looking for. It's only 2 Adepts, relatively small commitment, but they kill 10 drones, maybe 11? There you go. 11 workers here in total. Zerglings were also cleaned up on the other side of the map, and this actually really evened up the amount of workers that are available at this point. I'm still liking the tech here for the Protoss player quite a bit, but Void Ray Adept is not really a unit composition. I feel like if you go for the Adept upgrade, you really want to go for like a big influx of Adepts, because it's not really going to carry you into the mid-game, you know? Unlike, for example, Charge or Blink, you don't really find a whole lot of usefulness out of that Glaives upgrade, and it's not particularly cheap. So third Nexus comes up right now. I don't know if I like Glaives. I really don't think I like Glaives. I would have loved to see just an Oracle and then maybe Charge or you know, Archon drops or something along those lines as a follow-up instead. It feels a lot more solid against something along the lines that Bly is going for here. Anyways, second Stargate comes up. We do also see the +1 flyer attacks, which I think is fantastic. A gateway over here will reinforce that wall, so that's good. That's gonna at the very least prevent more Zerglings from slipping in. Already though, the Hydra Den is coming up, and it looks like the Queens are on the march. Bly is so aggressive. This has to be the most aggressive Zerg style you can play right now. Once again, a couple of Adepts though. I was critical of these Adepts earlier. These can definitely get some work done, because at this point it's mostly drones as a follow-up. So this is actually a very terrifying amount of damage that these units can do. Zerglings will be forced to return back home. You gotta respect 3 Adepts, especially with Glaives. They're gonna kill lots of Zerglings. So all the Lings are returning home, but at the same time, the Roaches, Ravagers, and Queens are marching across the map. There is gonna be a Super Battery here available as well, so that Shield Battery will will heal up a lot of these units. Corrosive Balls do connect on at least some of these units. One of the Void Rays already falls. Looks like that Photon Cannon is going to go down here as well, at the very least once the Super Battery gets killed. All the Lings in the meantime did clean up the Adepts, so they're on the other side of the map. But they will probably be rejoining this army here as well very shortly. And at that point, MaNa is going to be stuck on 2 bases. I mean, yeah, he's going to have +1 air weapons. That's great and all. The Queens probably are going to have a hard time cleaning this many Void Rays. But the Hydra Den, I mean, it's already researching. Additional Queens are coming up as well. Bly can just transition into Hydras at this point, and it starts to look extremely dire right now for the Protoss player. Even killing the Cybercore at this point would be fantastic. Now, once again, the door has been knocked wide open, so that means the Zerglings will once again go in for round number 3. There's a couple of Adepts that apparently got stuck on the left-hand side of the main base for God knows what reason. And that's an additional 7 or 8 drones, or probes rather, going down at this point. Are the queens gonna be enough? No, look at that. It looks like, well, unless the corrosive balls connect, which they never should, obviously. Yeah, no, these void rays are gonna be able to clean everything up, but in the meantime, those lings and these roaches and ravagers have been dealing a ton of damage. Is he gonna sacrifice the units? I guess so. Hyper aggression at its finest. All these units will be killed here eventually. Look at this. Hydras are coming across. He didn't even finish the third, actually. This is so sick. Really makes me wonder why not more people play this. I mean, it looks easy, but it really isn't, though. It's very easy to accidentally lose 20 drones to 3 adepts in these kind of scenarios. You gotta make the right calls, right? Anyhow. So, these are Void Rays with +1, but I've got a feeling that the economy at this point is just not really gonna help out MaNa here anymore. I mean, Bly is gonna get way more income here for a really long time, and while the Protoss defender's advantage is nice, you need a lot of static defense to hold on to 2 bases. And, I mean, the creep here, it's so close at this point that the queens can just march over here once more. Couple roaches here available as well. A few sentries were warped in. They have now used their energy. Doesn't really get a whole lot done, and at this point, Zerg is just going to cycle towards the natural expansion instead. Static defense over there will be killed right away, and at this point, with the Hydras getting underneath, I think that these Void Rays are going to have to get out. Corrosive Bow actually connects with some of them as well, and GG is called. Bly wins game number 1. Alrighty, so here we go. Map number 2 is going to be Giganatha, and would you look at that production tab. Now, this has been happening a lot more recently, though, so... Cyril, for example, has been extremely fond recently of playing 12 pools. He's been doing that in, I would say, like 1 out of 3 or so of his ladder games. Or not his ladder games, his tournament games. So he's been very, very fond of going for the 12 pool. Basically, what you do is you go for a 12 spawning pool. You drone to 14, make a 14 overlord, and then you make about 10 or so zerglings and then play a macro game as a follow-up. I think the thought process behind that is probably relatively similar to what, you know, Bly was doing in the previous game. You basically just try and throw your opponent off, although... Okay, this is, oh my god, this is so dirty. This drone timing over here indicates a standard natural expansion. Look at the minerals that Bly has. He doesn't have the minerals at this point to even make an expo. So the fact that he's... Oh my god. He even fake moving on over to the third. So he sent it at like 40 or so seconds to the low ground. Now there's a second drone to the low ground as well. MaNa here is like, oh my god, I'm blocking the expansion. It's never gonna happen. I don't think he... Oh. It's so dirty. In the meantime, that drone has made its way across the map. No! Oh, shit! Okay, Bly. Bly is improving the 12 pool. There's some sick mind games going on here, though. We're only a minute and a half into this, right? I hope I do a decent enough job explaining that, because that's actually crazy. The fact that he decided to send the drone at like 35 seconds to fake a 16 hatch on the low ground, and then sold the story so successfully while sending that drone across the map that he even forced out a pylon by MaNa that he didn't cancel? Not canceling that is a massive error, actually. Yeah, he was now forced to go for a second pylon over here just in case these structures get underpowered. With that hatchery in the wall, though, Protoss can't actually make a correct wall. He's forced to go for another pylon. Zealot will be coming up. There's a second gateway and a cybercore as well, but that cybercore needs to finish before he can make a shield battery or, for example, an adept. I think actually canceling or not canceling that pylon over there is a big error, though, because it really, really is going to slow down the amount of units that you can produce here. Now, once the hatchery finishes up, there's actually like a lot of maneuvering that Zerg units can do around it. Zealot gets caught outside of the wall, and that means that the Lings can now start running in. Oh my god. This is going from bad to worse at this point for MaNa. Oh yeah, look at how much maneuvering right now that these units can do. An adept does pop out here eventually, but I think that that gateway is going to end up going down here. And just like that, Bly once again busts open the front door. There's a queen being produced at this point inside of the natural of the Protoss. Oh, he's trying to get the wraparound. Well, at the very least, that Zealot will go down. There's a shield battery coming up here, but I mean, what's that shield battery gonna... I think that's game. That's pretty much game, right? What are you gonna do? You're never gonna be able to prevent these Zerg units from coming in. So the margin for error for a Protoss player in these scenarios is extremely small. You can't make any mistakes. If you make a little slip up, that's basically game over. And there it is. MaNa leaves the game without the GG. And I think that this may very well be the shortest best of 3 series that I've casted, at the very least over the last couple of months. So wait, let me go back for just a little bit. So for Zerg players that are struggling in Zerg versus Protoss as well, and that are watching this and that feel inspired, right? So this is a 12 spawning pool. It should be a 14 Overlord as a follow-up. The drone moves to the low ground at about 38 seconds. Which I think corresponds with the normal time to send out a drone if you want to go for the 16 hatch. Now, one little move that Bly makes over here as well that I really like is that he sees that the probe is in the natural, right? This is obviously what MaNa sees. And then he sends the drone on over to the 3rd base instead, which is normally the base that Zerg acquires if their expansion on the natural is blocked. So this drone moves a little bit over there, not too far, and then gets routed straight across the map. So 12 pool. 38-ish seconds is when that Overlord, or sorry, that drone goes down, and then a 14 Overlord. And then it's all Zerglings from there. There's not a drone going down at about 1 minute. So I think this may very well be the timing if Zerg decided to go for a spawning pool first instead of going for a natural first. I'm not entirely sure about this one. I think he just really wants to get that base up. Anyways, it's all Zerglings from here, and then a hatchery on the other side as soon as the drone arrives. This is not rocket science. Right? Like, this is not a super complicated build order. You can pull this kind of thing off relatively easily. Now, obviously, the Zergling dance and, you know, the micro on those units is going to be pretty tricky. But that is so cheeky. I'm trying to think exactly what Protoss needs to do. And I'm not even entirely sure what the best defense is. And I think that's kind of the problem, right? In this particular game here for MaNa. StarCraft is not really a game where you should be thinking on the fly, right? This is the type of game where if you're a Protoss player, you need to look at this right now and decide what you would do differently if you were MaNa, if you were to ever encounter this. But because this is such an uncommon build order here from Bly, Protoss players barely ever see this sort of thing, so I'm sure there's a couple Protoss players out there that have grinded this kind of defense out and that know exactly what it is you need to do. But since it's so uncommon, I don't think MaNa really has been, you know, practicing this kind of thing. I mean, if, for example, Serral would start playing it, then all of a sudden every Protoss player out there would know how to defend this perfectly. But since, you know, no one really does it that often, I guess that these sort of build orders can slip through the cracks. I'm feeling inspired. I want to go on the ladder and give this build a try. I think I will later today. In case you're unfamiliar, I stream on Monday through Saturday over at twitch.tv/LowkoTV. So come check out my live stream in case you're interested. But for now, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button down below, and you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. I want to thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.